Testing, testing. One, two, three. Hello, everybody. This is Sean Harrison coming to you live from the office of my beautiful home. Today, for professional development, we're going to be discussing the cognitive factors of motivation. And really, what we're going to be discussing is what cultivates motivation within the classroom. Today's professional development is really intended for 9 through 12th grade teachers, but really any educator would benefit from this brief professional development. This is my EDS 8830 Special Topics project. For today's agenda, we're going to be talking about motivation and cognition. Then we're going to tie them together and really talk about the applications within the classroom setting and the implications that you can get as a teacher as well. First things first, let's talk about motivation. All right, Amrod, this book that we've had all class, talks about motivation as an inner state that energizes, directs, and sustains behavior. And really, when discussing motivation, it's a matter of, do you have it or do you not? All right, are you trying to experience something that you wanted, or really are we trying to avoid something as well? All right, and just when we talk about motivation, all right, it's really like a continuum. All right, you could have no motivation, you could have what's known as controlled motivation, or really you could also have autonomous motivation as well. And so within the classroom setting, we'll discuss some of that. Cognition, all right, to be able to understand the cognitive factors of motivation, we really got to talk about cognition first, which is really the nature of the thinking process. How do you know what you know? And so a lot of that comes from the input from both a conscious and unconscious mechanisms that you just go through in life. So it's your perception, memory, reasoning, judgment, and really ultimately what you learn. So when we look at the cognition factors of motivation, all right, what is pushing us motivationally, right? What is going on in here to motivate us out here? And so Amrod talks about it being the mental process and characteristics that influence how an individual perceives, thinks, learns, and really responds to the environment as a whole. And so we're going to talk about these 4 factors of motivation: interest, expectancies and values, goals, and attributions. First thing is your interest. Are you interested or are you not? All right. And so this can be both from an internal, intrinsic standpoint or an extrinsic standpoint. Is it something that is of personal interest to you? Is it situational, as in like you're in a baseball game and you need to get a hit to score this run to win the game, right? Do you have interest, right? If you're interested, then you're probably motivated. When you talk about interest, all right, for that intrinsic and extrinsic motivations, that's going to be that bread and butter when we talk about it. All right, intrinsically, is it passionate for you? Is it a curiosity that drives a student? Is it fun? All right, and really from an extrinsic standpoint, right, like I'm trying to keep my job, right, because it pays me money. That's my extrinsic reward. I'm trying to get good grades on this professional development, right? That's an extrinsic motivation for me. And really academically, from a career standpoint, this is going to push me in my career. Thus, it is intrinsic and extrinsic as well. Cognitive factor number 2 for motivation is really the expectancies and values. Do you expect something to happen? Is the value of it happening? Is it worth the cost to benefit ratio? All right. If you expect it to happen, does it motivate you? Does the value of getting an A motivate a student? All right. If you always prepare for the worst and hope for the best, you're always going to find motivation in the middle. When you look at expectancies and values as well, one of the main factors is that intrinsic portion, which is self-efficacy. All right. And really, as the TEDx talks on here, it says that it is the fuel that drives change. And I find it to be especially important with students. If you can build enough rapport with them, if you can understand how they operate from how they feel about themselves, you can figure out if they're going to be motivated or not for you from a self-efficacy standpoint as well. Cognitive factor number 3 is going to be goals. All right. Goal setting is huge. All right. If you don't have any goals and you got no purpose, you're not going to be motivated to really do anything. All right. But if you can set it, make that plan, get to work, stick to it, you'll reach that goal, just like the beautiful photo there says. In terms of goals, all right, Amrod breaks it down to, you got core goals, which are general in nature, master, which is going to be skillful, like did you learn something new and mastered that skill? You've got performance for both approach and avoidance, meaning like you want to look your best or you want to not look bad. All right, you've got social goals, short-term and long-term goals as well. And when we talk about students, goal setting is huge. And really the attributions, what this one comes down to in terms of motivation is, what do you believe? What can you attribute to the reasoning why you got there? What motivated you to get there, right? I want to know why this happened, right? That cause and effect. So when you look at the totality of what cultivates motivation in students, especially within the classroom setting, some applications to student learning can be utilized. And so you're going to be looking at student self-efficacy and confidence as number 1. All right. As a teacher, you can scaffold. All right. You can use positive feedback, and really you need to be open to mistakes within the classroom, right? It's going to reduce that failure fear, or excuse me, the fear of failure. But having that welcome failure mentality is great, because you're only motivating them to, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and let's drive on and learn. All right. We've talked about goal setting and objectives. If you can use SMART acronyms, specific, measurable, and achievable, and relevant and time-oriented, that is going to be something huge and beneficial for you as a teacher. And really, anytime that you can make work into chunked work, manageable workload, also a benefit to the students from an application standpoint. Some other applications that we can cultivate motivation in students. All right, allowing for autonomy, it really just means helping them have opportunities to choose how they want to present their mastered content. Promoting inquiry-based learning, holding those open-ended discussions, and really at the end of the day, if you can support students emotionally, reduce stress, that's going to be huge, especially to cultivate that motivation in the classroom. Now, some implications for teaching, all right? These are going to effective changes in the classroom. So when you start putting in those applications for the motivational pieces that we've talked about, all right, you're going to see constructive feedback coming from your students. You're going to see peer mentorship. All right. Building that self-confidence, building that efficacy is going to be huge. As a teacher, right, you should be setting expectations that are going to be high. All right. Once you start implementing motivations, you need to start putting in the expectations as well. All right. And one of the biggest things that I've found in my experience that is going to motivate a student sometimes is extrinsic rewards, like these Cheetos. Some other things that are going to do implications for teacher instruction is going to be promoting a growth mindset in the classroom. All right. Once you start to motivate, you're going to start to see students flourish. All right. Praise the effort, praise the resiliency. All right. Model everything. Model the I do, you do, we do, right? Model it up. All right. Support them holistically, and no matter what, embody compassion, because students will give that motivational piece back. If you care about them, they will care about themselves and care about doing well for you. In terms of resources, all right, I've got the American Psychological Association on here. It's a giant compendium that's got everything from cognition in the brain, also to resources on motivation here as well. And right here, you're going to see the references that I utilize for this professional development. But ultimately, guys, motivating students, cultivating that motivation is all going to come down, and it starts with the teacher being able to implement those 4 factors of cognitive motivation. Thank you for coming to my professional development. Have a great day.